are celebrating Lag Baomer, one of the greatest days of joy, unity, peace, and connection of the entire year. This is the day of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's yahrzeit, and there are so many secrets for us to unpack for ourselves and for our relationships. So let's get started. First of all, in the times of the Rizal, which is way after the passing of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there was a certain sage at the time who felt the pain of the destruction of the temple so strongly that he actually said a prayer of mourning every single day, including Shabbos and Yom Tov, days that you're not supposed to be mourning. But that's just how much he felt, like the pain of Galus, which is a high level of its own right. Yet we know that for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the temple was whole and standing. For him, the temple was never destroyed because he lived in full and total Geula consciousness. He lived in a place of his wedding with Hashem. Like, he lived in that place of absolute unity. And so he said, this certain sage actually said this prayer of mourning on the day of Lag Baomer, and he was punished for this. And whenever, the Torah mentions something seemingly negative, there has to be something to learn from it, because the Torah, all of Torah, is so careful with words and speaking positively, especially this week's Parshas Emor. And so what we learned from this is that there was actually like a higher consciousness offered in Lag Baomer that we all need to tap into. Meaning it wasn't appropriate for the sage to be mourning the Beis Hamikdash on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's day, because what does Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai give us access to? He gives us access to Geula, to ultimate redemption, to complete and total connection with God here and now. And that is something we need to make ourselves a vessel for. And no skipping class on this one, right? That's what we learned from that story of the sage. So the Rebbe also, first of all, let's look at the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's name. The word Yochai is usually spelled without an aleph. But in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's name, it's actually spelled with an aleph. So, what is an aleph? An aleph is the first letter of the Jewish alphabet, and it's a gematria of 1, and it represents Echad, God's absolute all-pervading unity. That God is the Lufei Shel Olam, the master of every single atom in all of creation, the master of the world, the master of our lives, the master of our relationships, the master of our marriages. God is everything. That unity consciousness, that is the Geula consciousness. And so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had this aleph in his name. And what is this aleph connected to? The idea of Galus. The word for exile is actually Gola, is actually the same word as the word Geula, the word for redemption. The only difference in these two words, these two states, is that aleph. Meaning, when I'm able to take a Gala moment, a Galus moment, a moment of constriction and stress and pain and worry and even despair, and infuse that aleph, infuse that understanding, that awareness of Hashem is here and present in my life, the exact same moment becomes Geula. It now flips into Geula unity consciousness. It's now a completely different story. And so Rabbi Shimon, even with his name, which is his essence, is showing us how to live in this reality of the Beis Hamikdash, of Geula. And so how do we apply this to our marriage? So before we go to that, let's go to this idea of Havas Yisrael. So the Rebbe also connects how this time period where Lag Baomer falls out is during these days that are days of mourning for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's students. So we stop all the mourning for Lag Baomer, of course, but we are in this time period of thinking about Rabbi Akiva's students, and what was the message is that they didn't have a Havas Yisrael for each other, right? They're on a very high level, but there was some level of honoring each other that was lacking. And so we learn about loving our fellow as ourselves. And as Rabbi Akiva said, right, these were his students, he says, Klal Gadol b'Torah. This is the general principle of the entire Torah. This is what brings the unity of the entire Torah. This is the point, is to love our fellow as ourselves. And what is the greatest act of a Havas Yisrael that we can do? The greatest act of really caring about another Jew is to ourselves live in the space of Geula and to see each other through this lens of Geula. And so what does that mean? It means taking a moment, let's say in our relationship, that feels like a Galus moment. And how can we really love our husbands in this moment? How can we really love them like we love ourselves? Is by choosing Geula. And so let's say someone's husband is complaining about something. It happens, I'm sure, read about it in books or something, right? Complaining. And so there's so many responses, right? So many triggers. Maybe you want to complain also. Maybe you want to defend the person your husband's complaining about. Maybe you want to defend yourself if he's complaining about you. Maybe you want to make it all better. Maybe you want to soothe. Maybe it makes you shut down. There's so many Galus responses to, one's husband complaining. And so what is the Geula response? Here's one, there's many, but here's one possible one that we like to practice at Geula Wives. It's just receiving him in that moment, not making it wrong, not saying this is a godless moment, saying, I want to feel Hashem. I want to feel that Aleph in this moment. Let me just really hear him. Let me hear my husband's heart. Maybe there's something beautiful about what's bothering him. It shows on the beauty of who he is and his essence. Let me just say I hear you and be open to receive Hashem in this moment. And just like that, it's the same scenario. There's no longer one of constriction and tension in the body, but expansion and openness to Hashem. And just that willingness to bring that Aleph, it's everything. And this is the greatest of Ahavas Yisrael. We respond to each other's gullus talk, each other's exile talk. We're missing and forgetting who the other person is. When I respond to my husband from that place of, I know who you are. You are an expansive being of divine light. You are Hashem's. You are a Geula, Jew. And I respond to that part of him, and I speak to that part of him. And when that part isn't shining, and I'm not seeing him as that, I'm seeing the gullus parts, just pausing, just waiting, just being in that quiet and waiting for something greater to come through. Knowing and identifying that I am a part of the Geula redemption process, and so is my husband. Just knowing that and not responding to anything lower, and just waiting for that elevation, waiting to, wow, how can I respond with that Aleph? How can I bring Hashem into this moment? Or how can I realize that what's really being offered here is an elevation, is that opportunity for that Aleph? So just to bring this idea to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's, the day of his passing, he says, is his halula, right? This is a wedding day with Hashem. So normally we think about yard sites, we think about someone passing. This is a very sad day. Like, they were never celebrated. This was a terribly sad day. We lost a great person in the world. This is a day for mourning forever. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revolutionized what the day of a passing is. He says, no, my soul is kissing Hashem. My soul is leaving its body and just going back to this absolute unity. There are no problems here. Obviously, we want to be in this world, manifest body and soul, having the full relationship with God. But he was saying, my soul leaving, this is a wedding day with Hashem, and he commanded us not to mourn on his day of his passing, but to light fires and have a time of that spiritual, fiery connection with Hashem. That this is every single one of our wedding day with Hashem. We are having a wedding with Hashem. And I truly believe that the greatest Ahavas Yisrael, love for our fellow Jews, to see every single Jew, every day is their wedding day. Have you ever gone to someone's wedding, whether you like them, or you don't, you're close with them or you're not, when it's someone's wedding day, you just love them, you want to gift them, you want to help them, you want to praise them, you want to bring out their beauty, you want to admire their beauty, they're special, you want to talk to them, to have their attention for even a moment, to do them a favor. It's just such a joy. It's their wedding day. And we're able to really see ourselves in this light of, this is my wedding day with Hashem. And just to tap into this on this one day, this day of Lag Baomer, to tap into this consciousness of seeing ourselves in every single Jew. This is our wedding day with Hashem. This is a day of absolute unity and connection. This is a gift of consciousness that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is giving us. So we should be blessed to bring this consciousness to, of peace and unity, and to really experience it fully, to give ourselves the gift of this day, to receive this day that Hashem's giving us, and that this day of Lag Baomer should enter us into this place of this holy consciousness within our marriages, within our own inner world, to really walk into the Beis Hamikdash from Lag Baomer, or sooner, with this reality and this gift. Thank you for listening, and wishing you an amazing, amazing Lag Baomer of Geula.